yesterday I was doing the role playing and objection handling, and we did a couple of calls up in Closter, and it was interesting. One of the agents had asked me to call a FSBO, and I called the FSBO, and basically all the techniques, I mean, I think I qualify as an advanced amateur on this. All the techniques weren't really working to getting the listing. And I just pivoted and I just said, hey, I just wanted to reach out, see if I can maybe help you after you sell your house to buy a new one. And the FSBO opened up, said they were looking to work with a realtor on the FSBO, on their purchase, moving out to Wayne. And it just struck me, like, if you just keep giving, right, you're going to eventually get. And in this particular case, I think, most overpriced FSBOs aren't going to end up well, right? So if that's the case, and I'm connecting him with somebody to help them find a place to buy, who's the obvious choice for them to call when they're ready to give up on selling their house on their own? It would be us, right?
Yep.
And I just think, our industry has been taught maybe to be angry, feel like we might be getting taken advantage of. Everything's not documented in writing, triple sign, but the reality is, sometimes, you have to trust and, be of value, be of service, give to people, and then you'll get in return. One of my, best, probably historically, one of the best, business decisions I made when I was in the lending industry was to tell a client to go take a product with a competitor of mine that was better than what I had. I told him, hey, this small S&L has a 10-year fixed 10-1 arm, much lower rate, 1-year rate lock. And that attorney told every single client of his that you have to call Rob because he's the most honest guy. He'll tell you if he doesn't have the best deal and send you somewhere else. And you gotta turn that off. So we're doing it live here, a little bit of glitches. So, if you're willing to, invest in your practice by giving and not always making sure that everything is, signed up on day one, you're providing value before you get, I think it really makes a huge difference and changes the mindset of what we have. And the other piece that I wanted to talk about was, the more I kind of think about what role we play, it's not just, opening up doors for people to move into houses, which is what the consumers think. It's far more significant. I mean, if you can think back to where your heritage, where your families bought their first and second house and how that kind of changed the whole path of your life by what you do, right? And, we're, tasked with doing that on a regular basis, right? Trying to identify, help somebody figure out where they want to be, help them navigate through the process successfully. And, how does that impact, the whole family tree? Does anybody ever take a step back from the day-to-day and look at those activities and those impacts that we have? We got a quiet bunch here today.
Every day.
Right. I mean, for you, Bruce, if you find a way to get somebody, affordable financing by looking at it differently, that makes a huge impact, right? And it's always not about just the here and now. It's about the guidance you can give them for, getting the job done. And we have a quiet group here. Nobody has any thoughts about that? Any comments?
So Rob, I had clients that were relocating to the area, and they were looking at houses up to $2 million. And we located some houses for them, but they refused to, understand the marketplace and how they should be making offers. And so they didn't win any of those bids. And finally, they really needed to move somewhere. So I found them a rental. And that was the only transaction I did with them. But as a result of the rental, they had expressed to me that their three children who were going to be entering the school district were really nervous about it because they didn't know anybody. So I reached out to friends of mine in town who happened to have three different friends who had children the same age as these clients' children, and I arranged for them to meet before school started so that the first day of school, they had someone they could walk to school with and someone that they knew. And this really touched my clients so much that since that time, even though they've moved away because he got relocated again, they have sent me 6 other transactions all over the country, referrals. It's really been wonderful. And it was because of what I did for their children.
Anybody ever, help somebody who maybe didn't choose to work with you, or anybody ever help anybody who, hey, I'm doing it on my own, and you just offer to help them out just because that's your nature?
Yes, all the time.
So,
Yes.
and what would happen if, you have somebody who's a FSBO and they say, I don't want to work with an agent, bring me a buyer, and you say, hey, I may not have a buyer, but if you have any questions along the way, let me help you out. If you dropped off some tips to help somebody close a house and you truly tried to help them, even if you didn't get paid a commission, what would happen? Like, don't you think, like, after they close and they're grateful, you'd be able to say, hey, Eugene, I'm glad that worked out, even though, I didn't get paid on that one. Do you know anybody that I could help? Right. And in this particular instance, this individual was anybody online here at the Closter session last night?
Yes.
The call part.
Francis.
All right, who's speaking there?
Francis.
Oh, Francis. So the call to the FSBO, I kind of failed on the FSBO part, right?
Yes, but he was tough. He didn't want anything to do with working with an agent.
Right, but it turns out that he gave me his email. He told me where he's looking to
He did.
place stells, and he's got a $700,000 budget to buy, and he's not committed to an agent. Now, when I called him, he seemed irritated, like he got a whole bunch of calls, like every other FSBO, right?
Yes, correct.
And it was almost like there was the motive was, I was trying to have a conversation on how I could help him solve his problem, right? By listing his house, selling it quickly, getting him more money. And his motive was, hey, I'll offer you 2% if you bring me a buyer, right?
Correct.
So we were kind of at odds, and you said he was difficult. I would agree with that, Fran.
Mm-hmm.
But was he difficult when I talked about buying a place?
No, actually, he's very open to discussing what he wanted to buy next.
Right. And who would be satisfied if you made, we only made one call yesterday?
Yes.
And we got a $700,000 buyer from a FSBO sign.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean,
yes,
that was a failure and a success at the same time, if that makes any sense. And my belief is, like, if he starts looking at properties and then his house isn't selling, who's the person he's going to call when he's ready to give up?
You.
Right. So that's the kind of
that depends. I'm sorry. This is Ron. I'm sorry, but that depends on how much you follow up with them, because you got to remember FSBOs get thousands of phone calls from agents. So when they get all those phone calls, if you don't have something special about you that you did for them, or you sent them and you follow up and keep in touch with them, they forget you. And the lucky guy or lucky agent who happens to be that right time, that right call, will get the lead. That's why it's so important to follow up. And I tell my agents that all the time. If you don't follow up, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose the lead.
I think, everything kind of presumes two things, Ron. One is that we're going to be appropriate in the follow-up, because if we don't follow up, we don't really deserve the business. Okay, and the second thing is that, you know, we invest in our skills so that we are in fact the right qualified person to handle the job, right? We can't just have all this tricky language and not have anything to back it up. That would not be a recipe for long-term success, because you will soon be discovered as what you are. Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to say that, Ron, there are a lot of people in the industry, they get a lot of calls, and a lot of the calls are all the same call, right? Hey, can I come out and
Exactly.
talk to you about listing your house? Can I bring a buyer? It's like this whole gamifying of, you know, who's getting over on who, right? The owner wants to just pay half a commission or even less than half a commission. And, you know, we think we're, you know, Superman, Superwoman. We're going to go over there and change their mind if we just get to see them. And unfortunately, that usually doesn't work out, especially if the expectation of, you know, transacting business on the listing side isn't set up front, at least in my opinion. Okay. So I think that our industry is abundant in the same old valueless scripts and concepts that people talk to about, you know, buyers and sellers. And I think that if we want a different outcome, we have to have a different approach. And that different approach is giving freely and having a belief that abundance will be given back in return. Like, you may think that, you know, humanity is not good by nature, but if you do a favor for somebody, you know, how many times have you done a favor and then they come back and they do something great for you that you didn't expect, right? Yep. You know, if we think about those times, and they're probably a lot more abundant than the bad times, but we by nature, you know, we're trying to protect and defend ourselves, make sure that we get paid on that one particular transaction, which is not the bigger picture, right? You know, is there somebody who on this call, you know, did somebody a huge favor to help them close on a house without getting paid, and then, you know, got rewarded in droves? Like my example, where, good.
I was going to say, I had a, but very, very early in my career, I had someone I met that was a teacher, and they had absolutely no business buying a home. It was just going to put them into a house poor situation. And I told them, after the lender came back and was willing to give them the moon and the sun, I talked them out of buying a house, and she's referred me 11 clients so far. Hasn't bought a house yet, but 11 clients.
That's better than one bad sale where she would have been struggling, or he would have been struggling, right?
Yeah, I would have been short selling her out 5 months later. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So-
see, sincerity makes a big difference. If you're sincere and you're honest about what you do for people, it shows. I mean, there's a lot of agents, like you said, Rob, they just go there and they say, hey, we just want to list your house, you know, give me the opportunity. But it's more than that. You know, it's value, what you give them, and it's sincerity, what you give them. I used to list a lot of for sale by owners. And it's just a matter of following up with them, talking to them, have conversations with them, send them things that were helpful, that are helpful to them. And if they sold the house themselves, fine, I got something back in return. Sometimes you don't, but you feel good about it. You feel good about, at least you help somebody along the way. And eventually that good karma is going to come back to you and give you some more leads. So yeah, that was really good that that you did that.
And,
You talked right
and
about the house. Very good idea.
Ron, what would happen if in your market, you know, you went by, instead of doing the same old that everybody else does with FSBOs, and you created a form letter, you looked at the property based upon its prior sales history or the public records, and you did 10 CMAs, and you attach an example to those CMAs of how pricing influences the ultimate sales price, and you hand delivered those to the doorstep, knocked on the door. If they answered, you just said, hey, you know, I just wanted to give you this. It might help you in selling your home. If I could ever be of any help buying or selling, give me a call. If you did that 10 times, did that 10 times, what do you think would happen?
Yeah, that's value. See, that's what I'm talking about. Now you'd probably get the listing if it doesn't sell, if they don't sell it themselves. Because you know, you try.
So Ron, let's just talk this through for a minute, because you have a lot of experience, and I really value your coaching and your prior success. But if you gave that out 10 times, let's say 4 doors are open, 6 people accept it. A handful of them might already have an agent that they're definitely going to work with if they sell it, right? So some of them are going to be off the market, and you got to appreciate that loyalty, right? But I would
Right.
believe that there would be 1 to 3 that would be in play out of 10. And how long would it take you to create a form letter, just customize the name, prepare a CMA in the MLS based upon whatever information is there? Say, look, I haven't seen your house, but this is just based on what's available. And then you gave an example of, if you don't have an example, you could borrow Audrey Potter's example of the house that expired at 650. We listed it at 599 and got 693. You could put that example in there and say, look at, our office, here's an experience our office did, pricing it wrong. You would think that if it was priced at 650 and there are people willing to pay 693, that they would have snapped it up, right? But that didn't happen. So if you had those 3 pieces of paper, you hand delivered 10 of those 3 times a week, I think you'd probably be the top listing agent in your office. But the question is, who's going to do that, right? Who's going to go out and do that, make that effort? Because you know what? Gas prices are high. The 10 listings that are expiring, it might take you an hour and a half to drive to all of them, right? Most people don't answer the door. If you're new at it, somebody's going to slam the door in your face. And, are you going to continue to have that positive attitude and the mindset of contribution? But I'm waiting to see, in one of these future masterminds, who picks up the ball and runs with this and gives us an outcome. And even if it's, hey, I had 1 listing opportunity from doing it 3 weeks, and but I'm going to continue to do it. That's a start, right? Does anybody like that idea? Anybody hate it?
I like it. It kind of takes away the stress for the agent, so you're not too scared to do it. And at the same time, you're making yourself useful to the person selling their house instead of just trying to get them to give you something. So it's easier for the agent, and it also comes across just better to the person you're trying to help.
And if you have no expectation, TJ, of getting any business, you'll never be disappointed, right?
Exactly. The only thing that you can lose is if you don't try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give it a try. Jennifer, if you make me the paper though, because you're good in that.
So Pavla, are people mean
Yeah.
when you knock on their door, or no?
Oh no, they're very sweet. I like that idea, Rob. Jennifer, will you make me the document, please?
So
Yes, yes, I
Thank
will.
you. Let's try that, because I like to go out there, and that would be a different way of going out there. And I like that idea, Rob. What was your question?
So Pavla is on here. Pavla and I had a great experience together, and it really, it wasn't the outcome that I wanted to talk about, but it was the process. And can I share what happened, Pavla?
Oh, please do.
So
You don't have to ask.
So we had a great day. We door knocked for like an hour and 25 minutes. It was fantastic. We only stopped because it started to rain. And what did we get? How many opportunities did we get out of that day? Was
I
it
got like 22, 18, 22.
we got?
I was just getting over Corona. I was so out of it, Rob, after I went to home and slept.
So
I
we
don't
got
know.
we got double-digit opportunities. I think there were 4 or 5 that had an immediate need. But if you remember, there was the one as we were starting to transition from me doing the talking to you talking. Do you remember the one where we knocked on the door, the lady opened the door, and you didn't even say a word? She said, "I'm not selling my house."
And she closed it on me, and then I learned that I should have said that I'm not here to sell anything. No, she says, "I'm not. What are you selling? I don't want to buy anything." Something like that.
I think she said, "I'm not selling my house," when she saw the Remax, and then there was like this awkward moment, and then the door closed, and that was
pretty quick. Yeah.
that was symbolic to me about everything that we need to do differently, right?
Yeah.
And you need to say, "Hey, I wasn't asking you if you're selling your house. I just wanted to like," and you've seen that happen. Like, I don't know, we did maybe 100 doors. You see it happen on every single one that answered when you follow the process. The people engage. Now, if you have something where you're going to FSBOs, you're not asking them to list their house. You're just saying, "Hey, I just wanted to give you something that might help you evaluate how your house compares to the market. and some different strategies on listing the house. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to help you without any obligation. And if you know anybody, or if you ever are interviewing agents to help you out, please just keep me in mind. Like, people wouldn't
I
know
love
how,
that. Yeah.
they wouldn't know how to be mean to you, would they?
Yeah, and I think I need it because it's less aggressive. So that's perfect.
So for some reason, Jim Brown, you're like front and center on my screen. What are your thoughts? You're not a licensed real estate agent. At least I don't think you are, right? You're on mute. Now he disappeared from the top of my screen. Anyway, so how about you, Bruce? You're not
I've got some thoughts, Rob. So for sale by owner is, they want to do it themselves, right? And so you bring the value to them, what you have in terms of value, but how do you communicate that other than just dropping that package on the door? That's the real key. Because I've been knocking on doors. Do you know anybody interested in buying or selling in the neighborhood? Not asking them if they want to sell themselves. And I heard Pavla, and so the resistance.
So Pavla, do you have any comment on what he just said?
Well, how do you communicate to them that you also want to sell the house?
So
Rob, I got something.
Go ahead.
Instead of saying buying or selling, moving in or out of the area, I think is one thing I caught when he just said that, just because buying and selling sometimes comes across as a little bit more, comes across as a little bit more of a salesperson instead of, anyone looking to relocate or move in and out of the area. I think it's a little softer. That's just the only thing I picked up when he said.
Great point.
Who can I help?
Yeah. So and even to extend beyond that, Dan, do you know anyone I could help looking to move in or out of the neighborhood or in or out of the community?
Yeah.
Right? If you say, do you know anyone looking to buy or sell? Anthony, I'm going to expect the doors are going to be closed on you pretty quick. And I'm not surprised. So thanks for sharing that. And hopefully this will be an example for others to remember.
And I do just want, while I'm on, I just do want to commend you, Anthony, on your, on your persistence to the Vulcan 7. I've been seeing how much you're hitting that, and I know it's kind of a long boat sometimes, but I see that you've been making calls pretty much almost daily, right? From what I'm seeing, and it's only a matter of time. I think, Rob, you were the epiphany for that, that whole thing when we had the session in Franklin Lakes. So, I know, Anthony, you're taking the bull by the horns with it, and I'm seeing the numbers. We'll circle back and see, again, how we can focus in on it. But, I commend you for continuing to do what you're doing, on it. And I think, others should really be, focusing in on some of these things that you're doing as well. So congrats on that, man.
So I just want to share one thing, Rob, because I think this is important. Just what you said, Dan, is that Rob has evidence of somebody who retired and lives in another country from just doing Vulcan 7. I knew this gentleman. I've been in this business over 31 years. I knew this guy. I gave this guy a referral. So if he can do it, I certainly know I can do it. It's just a matter of applying it, and consistency is the key here. And with the numbers, putting them on the board and building on your pipeline. That's the key. Building your pipeline with the numbers, the calls, to keep calling. And the other thing is that, you know what? I finally got an appointment. I have an appointment this Saturday. So, things are eventually going to happen.
Tony, is it gonna ruin your day if somebody tells you no?
No, because it's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. It's not about somebody's telling me, oh, I'm going to poo-poo your day.
Yep. So, and guess what, man? You'll still be okay at the end of the day too. So as long as you keep doing it, keep being persistent with it, eventually you're going to meet somebody who needs your help. And that's what we got to look at. Not so much as the commission breath paycheck. It's got to be the help that Rob's, saying, and our, I'm pretty fast paced, as a lot of you people, like a lot of you guys know. So I'm trying to wrangle that back and, try to understand them and just come from a point of helping them, because like Rob said, they're not going to tell you to shove off if if you're really genuinely trying to help them. Right. Rob, how do you pretend that you care? You don't, you care.
You care.
Yeah. I mean,
I had to get on a call. I'm sorry about that. I did listen in. I do not have a real estate license, but I can weigh in a little bit on the prospecting a little bit, because that's when I'm hearing everybody say, first of all, I'm Jim Brown. I haven't met everybody. I met some of you over in the Westfield office, but you know, for about 2 or 3 years, we had the fish jumping in the boat. Both the market was hot and, you know, people refinancing, and now they're not jumping in the boat as much. We're out there, you know, fishing and prospecting more than we have in years. And I think Bruce can attest to this too. We're spending more time prospecting, trying to, you know, get business. And I heard something really good this week that I'll share with everybody. So your mindset, it's a numbers game, right? To your point, Anthony, it's just, you have to go out there and speak to people and you can't judge it. Okay. You just never know. Okay. And what I heard was there are 4 SWs. I think there's 5, but I know the 4 SWs in it. They are, you know, some will, some won't.
So what?
Some will buy, some won't buy. So
Who
what?
cares?
And then there's someone's waiting. Okay. And if you have that mindset, you don't take it personal and you give, to your point before, Rob, where you're out there and you're just giving yourself out there as much, you know, expertise as you can offer to the customers, advice. And if you can, you know, just, if you're not going to get the transaction, then give what you can give that customer and it'll all come back to you. Okay. In the end. And that's, you know, givers get, and that's kind of how it goes there. But we're in the same boat you're in. We're just out there prospecting, trying to speak to as many people as we can without prejudice, you know.
And no preconceived notions. So one of the things, Jim, that I found is, you know, if you enjoy the process, right, and you look at the outcome of, you know, how valuable will it be if I spend 2 hours and I identify 2 people that I can help and change their lives. And there's very few people who have the commitment that I have and the dedication to do the right thing. I mean, unfortunately, and this is no dig on our industry, but there are a lot of people who do this casually and don't invest in developing their skills. And you're not going to get a good outcome. You're not going to get the best outcome by, you know, working with somebody who's a casual, not invested agent, right? So I'm Bobby, you got something to share? I saw a text.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut in, so I appreciate the feedback from everybody. So I'd like to put a little different twist on this conversation. And I know that we're focusing on FSBOs and that sort of stuff, but where I've made an awful lot of money in a different category is when literally when you go help somebody out. Now, I got a million stories, I know that we all do, where I've extended a courtesy to somebody from helping them at Wegmans with their card or their groceries. Not trying to freak anybody out, but I picked up a hitchhiker one time. I've helped somebody change a tire, just extended a courtesy to them. And then when they were trying to be overly thankful to me, even trying to give me money, I'd say, no, that's not necessary. But do me a favor, here's one of my cards. If you ever need me, give me a holler. Walking away, thinking I'd never hear from that person again. And it's amazing how many phone calls I get from out of the blue where I'll never forget it. The one guy said, you picked me, it would pour and rain out and I was walking home and you gave me a ride home, and I'll never forget that. And I was trying to do the right thing. Never thought I'd see him again. I gave him a card, and I've made more money on that sort of gesture just by helping somebody out, trying to do the right thing. That's come back to me in spades. It really has.
And I'm going to guess, Bobby, that you didn't do that with hopes of getting business. You just did it because it was the right thing to do, right?
Without 1,000% correct. I did it with the best intention, but you know, listen, opportunity is there. Here's my card. I didn't hear back from the vast majority of these people, so I did the right thing. No problem. I sleep at night, but it's amazing. You know, you get what you give. It really is.
Right. And I don't want to take this in a religious direction, but 3,400 years ago, in the Bible, they said, given you will receive, your gift will be returned to you in full. The amount you give will determine what you get back.
Bingo.
Okay. And I'm not trying to go biblical with everybody here, but I'm just saying that that's also human nature, right? What you put out in the universe comes back to you. And when you're out there talking to people, I think a lot of us don't prospect and don't do the activities we need to do because we're intimidated by it. We're anchored by bad experiences that have happened. And, you know, Anthony, when we were we had that awesome session where you were talking in Morristown. You landed that big appointment. Then when I went to Franklin Lakes, the first call, do you remember what happened?
Yeah, it was a very interesting man that decided the very first thing he wanted to do was curse Rob out.
Drop the F-bomb on me in a group calling session. But you know what? I persevered. I didn't get shaken. I just moved forward, and we had some really great conversations, right?
And we
did.
laughed. And we laughed.
And we
Did you all
laughed.
not laugh?
Loosened it up.
Yes.
Right. And my mindset was just, look at, this person just doesn't understand that I'm here to help. Right. So I just continue to go on. When I do calling and I talk to people, I enjoy it. I don't look at it as, am I intimidated how they're going to, shake me off the hook? How are they going to be mean to me? You can't change my mindset. It must be really annoying for the other people on the other side of the phone, because I just keep moving forward. Right. Because if I can't help you, is there anyone else that I can help? And when I
Is
can
there
help
anyone else I can help?
when I find somebody I can help, right? That's what juices me, right? That's what my motivation is. I want to have, a story worthy life where I go around to help people and influence others to do the same, because there's only so much one person can do. But if you have a megaphone like we do here with 76 people on a Friday morning, if I can influence everybody to behave differently, if you have the mindset of, I care about helping people, I stopped on the side of the road in the rain to help somebody change the tire, not to get a listing, but to do the right thing. And by the way, here's my card if I could ever help you. That law of reciprocity put a lot of money in Bobby Golden's pocket. And he didn't do that for the purpose of, trying to get money. He did that because he wanted to help somebody, and it paid back in spades, to quote him.
Hey,
Right?
Rob.
And Rob, to kind of go back to the call sessions, if you're like really hesitant about doing calls or things on your own, I found that some of the easiest ways to do it is start doing.
Yeah, you zoned out there, TJ.
So Rob, as TJ's getting the connection back on, can you hear me?
Yep.
So just real quick on this, just something came to my mind. So when I was younger, it
It can be a fun process.
TJ, you cut out for like 3/4 of what you said. So I don't know if you want to say it again.
Yeah. So 1 second. So what I was saying was, if you're uncomfortable doing these call sessions on your own, start doing them in a group. Typically, if you're working with like-minded people that are successful, it's gonna, rub off on you. And on top of that, it doesn't have to be a painful process. It can be fun. We had fun up at Franklin Lakes a couple weeks ago. We had fun in Closter yesterday when we were there. You learn, but you can also enjoy it. It doesn't have to be a painful process.
Right. Just on that, just made me think real quick. When I was younger, I had a tragic dental accident, where a majority of my permanent teeth were ripped out of my mouth. And, it was a very scary situation. And my parents owned a deli at the time over in Pompton Plains. And they called the first like emergency dental guy in the area, or dentist in the area. And, happened to get the emergency line. And he came in after hours because it was an emergency, and basically had to reconstruct my entire mouth with the whatever. And my parents at the time were not carrying dental insurance, unfortunately, so they didn't have any coverage at the time. So they were kind of scared as to the bill that was going to come from that at the end of the day. And what happened is, the guy, I'll never forget it, Dr. Giuliano over there, shout out. And, he said, you may not remember me, Mrs. Brosna, who's my mother. And my mother makes a mean Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, by the way. So this guy came in at the end of the day when they were cleaning up and they were closed, and he was like, "Oh, you're closed," and started walking away. My mother said, "No, come on in. Made him a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich, sat down, gave him coffee, whatever. He left. He said, "You don't remember me." He said, "But I remember you. You made me a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich at like 11:30 when I came by." He goes, "You know what?" He said, "Don't worry about it. We'll work it out." He goes, "We'll put it on a longer term payment plan. And you know what? We'll give you the insurance cost for everything." So thanks to my mother being a saint and giving this guy a sandwich, that's just how she is. Later in the night, this guy, you know, saved them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that they would have paid otherwise for, you know, for my accident that happened. So, you know, again, you know, law of reciprocity is out there. And then just shortly after, I, you know, a lot of like other people, you know, it's the same anxiety when we go on those door knocking or calls or something like that. But I found that when you actually have a genuine purpose, right, not faking that you have a buyer or anything like that, when you genuinely have a purpose to call someone, like I do for one of my high priority clients who's looking for a very specific area in Franklin Lakes. He only wants a couple streets. So that narrows it down for me, and it makes it so much more powerful that I can bring that message to somebody else, not just someone, right, but someone specific. So like, and tell them about their family and what their goals are, you know? So I think that's just something to be mindful of, is that if we go in blind, sometimes you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants. But if you go through your past clients and you're really looking to find them a place, right? Or not past clients, but maybe people that are in your pipeline, you're trying to find them a place, then, you know, it makes the conversation that much more easier and genuine, and people can tell that. Whereas if you're just kind of looking for business, if that makes sense. So sorry, just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I hate to tell everybody this, but like prospecting doesn't equal anxiety, right? It only equals anxiety when you're not prepared, right? If you're prepared and somebody asks you a question about something where you're a subject expert, or if you're just out there trying to help, how can you be intimidated, or how can you have anxiety about those interactions? Just trying to help you out.
Right, exactly. But I think when we don't have that right mindset, when we look at it as a business building or an income generating activity, as opposed to coming from the point of helping people, because if you don't have, if you don't have somebody, you know, directly in your pipeline, right, you could still help the people looking to sell, right? You know, so it is just shifting your mindset. I agree with you. But I think when you have like a specific person who's looking for a specific property genuinely, not like a BS, you know, bringing your cousin through, like you have a genuine person who's actually looking for something specific, and we can get super specific with it. You know, I hadn't had a lot of those people who, you know, were like, I have to be in this neighborhood, I have to be here, you know, or I didn't do a good enough job in identifying that, you know. So when you have that, and you can circle back to these people who may be on the sidelines for right now, for me at least, it eliminates any type of uncertainty, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, that weird feeling inside you that, you know, what am I doing? You know, how is this going to be received on the other end? I think goes away. And that's at least an easier point. So, you know, again, if anyone has any specific needs for clients in areas and you'd like some assistance with that, you're welcome to come up to Franklin Lakes. I'll come out by you, whatever you want to do. And we'll try to source some business for you, and more importantly, try to find your clients what they're actually looking for.
I think what you're saying, Dan, is you're reversing the motivation, where you're like, look, I'm trying to find a way to help somebody, and then afterwards I get paid, instead of, hey, I'm trying to make a paycheck, right, with the commission breath. And
Rob, and one more point to that, and then I'll shut up, is that I'm really, like, you know how when you tell like your kids, like, yeah, we'll do something, right? If you told Ryan, we're gonna go to the park tomorrow, right? And then something came up, you didn't go. But if you told Ryan, I promise you, you know, we're going to go to the park tomorrow, right? How much more differently is that received? Okay, just think about that. Ryan is going to hold you to it. You're going to hold yourself to it because you said the word, I promise. So what I'm trying to do, what one of my coaches was telling me is, you know, start utilizing that I promise, not just with yourself, but to your clients. So I did it with this guy. He said, you know, listen, he says, I'm looking in this area. He contacted some other brokers. They don't want to knock on the doors. They don't want to go out and work. I said, listen, man, I said, I promise you, I will contact these people and I will go and personally knock on their door. You don't think I'm going to do that? You don't think I'm going to do that now that I made that promise to him? So it elevates it for you and it elevates it for him. So, right. But that's my 2 cents.
And then, you know, Dan, the thing is, when you're talking to people in the neighborhood, when you have a specific need, you know, you're just trying to, you're not, it's not a convoluted, it's not a trick. It's, hey, I have somebody, I want to see if I could put together, you know, solve 2 problems at once.
Yeah.
You know, if you're thinking of moving, I have somebody thinking of moving in, you know, how stress-free would it be if we could do it without even having to prepare your house to go on the market?
Correct. And
Right.
instead of, and what I used to do is I used to look up the people who's expired two years ago, you know, and then go to their home or whatever, a year and a half ago, and then go to their home and say, you know, do you know anyone looking to, you know, move in or out of the neighborhood? Right. And that's kind of like, you know, I'm playing it a little bit there because I know that they had a need in the past, and it's like it's kind of disingenuous in my own sense, right? But I'm trying to help them, so you're coming from a place there. But if you realistically can tell them, you know, my client reached out to me, I promised him I'd go and knock on the doors, so that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm here, you know. And it is just a much lighter thing. They'll probably say, you know, we're not, but the Davidsons are. You know, they're going to look to help you if you're genuinely out there, you know, with the right mindset, and you're not forcing it. It's just going to be something that if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I go back to my client and said, listen, I knocked on this one. They're all said, no, but this is an opportunity I do have for you.
All right. So Dan, this is recorded. I'm going to give you another tip.
Yep.
Okay. When you build rapport with a homeowner, when you're talking in the neighborhood, right? You have that little conversation, say, my first name is Rob, your first name, hey, Dan. Hey, Dan, how long have you been here? You've been here 19 years. Oh, wow. What do you like best, right? So I'm going through this process. And at the end, I'm like, if you've been here 19 years, Dan, you know, can you identify the next two people that are going to be putting their house on the market? And you ask for something specific instead of, do you know?
Yep.
Right? They will come out and say, oh, their kid's graduating in May. And
yeah,
I think they're going through like, they will give you two.
they'll give you intel. Exactly.
No, but if you ask for two, they'll give you two.
Yeah.
You say, hey, can you give me, you know, who do you think, you know, are the next two people to be moving in the neighborhood?
Right.
Right. Give me the names of the next two. I found that to be extremely powerful, but you have to build that rapport. And I'd have to go, hey, Dan, you know, who, like when I use your name, who are the next two people to put their home on the market? They're going to give me a specific answer almost without exception. Sure. And they might even say, hey, it's kind of a tie for the second one. It's this family and that family.
They're both on the rocks.
Right. So when you enjoy the process, it's not stressful. And I think a lot of people don't do prospecting because they have anxiety and fear of failure.
Yeah.
And if you can't fail because you're not selling anything, you're just out to help people, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
And what's stopping us from doing it?
Right. Ourselves.
Yeah.
Hi, Rob. Rob, this is Mondi. So I just wanted to share something. So, you know, since I've joined RE/MAX, I joined RE/MAX Select back in June. I enjoy these conversations so much because it's really flipped the lens in terms of how I see this business. Because I used to see it as like my value it was only to clients in terms of what I can bring to them professionally or specifically in terms of selling and buying a home. And I guess I did that because I was sort of raised, you know, I was raised as a young child in a very rough part of New York. And I was sort of told to, you know, leave people alone, don't bother people, you know, stay in your space on the subway. You know, you're sort of like, you know, maneuvering through life where you sort of feel like you have to respect people's space and not bother them. And with the approach that you guys take, I realized I was taking that approach in my business, but to take the approach of being a giver and looking at myself as a contributor, it helps me sort of want to approach people in that way, and I'm not bothering them. It flips the script for me so that when I'm talking to you as someone, as another human being who's really trying to help you move to the next step in your life, help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. And it really removes that whole sense of bothering someone, because I realize I was really holding that for many, many years, probably bringing it into a lot of different scenarios within my life. So just talking to you guys, even talking to Maria in terms of how she does, you know, her listing prospecting, it's all just about giving and contributing. And I really appreciate that, because it's really, really changed how I see this business.
Well, Mondi, we're ecstatic to have you on board. You know, you're a successful agent before you came here, and I hope you'll be continuing your growth and enjoying the process a little bit more because of the way that we can think differently. It's amazing if, you know, some mean person can't change your mindset, right? I don't allow somebody to change the way I'm behaving because they might be a jerk. They drop the F-bomb on me on the first call when I'm prospecting. It doesn't change how I am, right? I just, it's unfortunate. Maybe they're having a bad day and I just move on.
Bob, I think,
Rob,
I think Glenn had something he wanted to add to this.
no, I was just going to say, Rob, one thing that you can never, ever hide is your micro expressions, right? And if you're not genuine, the human eye is keen to figure out what is and what isn't. We used, before the whole Chris Voss became in vogue in all of his book and all that jazz, there was a guy named Darren Stanton who was called a lie detector. And he taught all of us in corporate world to go into a meeting, look at a table and figure out who's a BSer, who's a liar, who's the snake that's going to go up the corporate ladder in minutes. And I think it's an interesting thing that if you come to a sales meeting with true, genuine intent, your likelihood of winning is over the top compared to the person that's coming in and acting as though they really are genuine, but they're really not. And you can't hide that. There's no way. Humans aren't good enough to hide it.
Yep, and there's nothing to hide. I mean, it really it's just a epic shift because you can't be intimidated because you're not. Pablo, when somebody says there's no soliciting here, right? The president of the HOA comes by, there's no soliciting. Did I flinch?
No, I mean, you were not soliciting, you were helping them. I mean, they understood.
And did the president that wanted to throw us out give us like everybody's name and who's got problems?
Yeah, and she was even saying how bad she feels that she didn't approve my client to be able to rent since she lost her job.
But I mean,
she had a guilt inside.
But it's what you put out comes back, and you guys are all giving us great examples of that. And if you have the mindset that you can't fail, you can make some calls, you can do some activities, and it is a numbers game, but you don't have to be miserable and say, oh my God, I got to spend it's like going 3 hours in the gym. I'm going to go 3 hours in the gym. I'll be miserable. I hate it. When you're knocking on doors, talking to people in the supermarket, using the first app and calling people, all these activities that are going to change your life. And if you don't do it, it's almost, it's sad because you have that ability and it's not about money. Money is just a scoreboard for the amount of contribution you put into the industry, right? It's, if you're not satisfied with what you're getting paid, then you're not making a big enough contribution to earn that higher amount, right? You have to put more into the universe and into our industry to earn more, right? And if you made $1 million, what that tells me is you've helped a lot of people. You found a way to help a lot of people because you can't fake it in this business. And there's nobody making $1 million that is bad, right? At least not sustainably. They're making legally, a contribution.
Not legally.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's caveats, Dan, but if you're doing really well, you're helping out a lot of people, right? And most of the people who are at that level, put helping people before calculating the commission on the back of the envelope.
Yeah. And Rob, just last point on this, just from coming from 3 other brokerages and then, now being here for, just about 3 years, the difference in the, level of agents and the overall will to be better and to the problems, if you want to call them problems or obstacles that come up, are much higher level. And it's not, how do I turn on a computer or how do I do this or how do I do that? It's so much higher level that it makes everyone, we were having this conversation yesterday, that it makes everyone perform at a little bit of a higher level, I think, and kind of self problem solve some of the things that, otherwise people become reliant on others for. So just in my experience, it's leveled my game up a lot by trying to find new, unique ways to, not only help our agents, and it's helping our clients and understanding what their concerns are. And, I think it's just it's a completely different feel when you're with a RE/MAX as opposed to any other brands. And I know a lot of people can speak to a lot of different things, but it's just when you're here, you just feel it. Like I said, from the first week I came on.
Yeah, I don't think it's RE/MAX. I think it's Rob.
I think you're right on with that. Leadership does.
I think you're right, Pablo.
leadership does make a big difference. But again, when you're
Love you all,
surrounded,
guys and gals.
yeah, but again, it is also that, people gravitate towards others, right? And Rob is absolutely instrumental in a lot of this, in motivating and consistency, right? Rob's very consistent. So I think that's what we're all kind of learning, these behaviors. I'm definitely learning it, trying to be more consistent in my actions, more definite in my actions, and, more purposeful. And that's the thing where, it's constantly a learning experience, right? For all of us. And no matter what level you're on, it's insane to see, the level that these agents are on that are still looking to grow. They're still looking to fine tune. And that's what I love. That's one of the things I love most about our organization, in comparison to some of the other RE/MAXs out there. Because you're right, it is not just RE/MAX, Paula, it is not just RE/MAX, because not every RE/MAX is select. Okay. So that's what, and
I like that.
people that aren't with us, I don't think are seeing clearly.
Come on, you guys
Rob Sand's getting big now, so we got all
you guys are making me blush. But I want to take a 1 minute step aside here, because I asked a longtime friend of mine who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, who built great organizations for competitors of ours, Carlos Cruz, to come here. And the reason why, I want him to talk for just 1 minute, Carlos, is in the past few months, I probably had about a dozen conversations with team leaders, team members. A lot of time it's newer team members who don't know how this works, where somebody bought a house and they needed a week after they bought the house, the air conditioning went because it's summer, the hot water heater went, the refrigerator stopped working, and they say, hey, I just bought this 2 days ago. The hot water heater just burst in the basement, and is the seller responsible for that? And you know what the answer is? When you call the attorney, you call anybody, but as soon as you sign the papers, guess what? It's you own it. And think about how the conversation would be differently. And it's not about, trying to sell home warranties, but how it would be differently if you said, hey, Anita, I'm glad you went and bought that warranty. Give the warranty company a call, that'll be taken care of. Because it changes the experience. Nobody's going to say, wow, I didn't want to spend $500. And by the time you go to the closing, you can put it on your credit card, and those pesky lenders aren't going to care because you already got the money. So you can put it on the charge card, and those conversations just become, you're a hero. And it's an awkward conversation. If you've been to business more than 2 or 3 years, you probably have had that happen. Have you guys had somebody call you like 2 days after closing and saying something bad happened to the house?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
You have to tell them, oh well,
Sorry.
you're like this. Welcome to home ownership.
Call your attorney.
But the attorney's not going to do anything.
Exactly.
Right. Problem.
So anyway, Carlos, talk for 1 minute, and then I'm going to drive this home. You're on mute, sir. Carlos Cruz. There you go.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Bob. I just want to kind of jump in a little. I really enjoyed the conversation that was going on, and we're talking about it because I've been door knocking for over 20 years. I started in the very early 2000s, and it really changed my life. And a lot of what I heard here is absolutely the truth. It was fun. It was there with intent to help people. And the day that I stopped chasing money, the money started following me. That's the only advice I can give everybody. I know Bob talks about a door knocking. Trust me, I've done it for many years. My son left school, started doing the same thing. He runs a very successful business now, and is still knocking on the door. It's a great way to know people, but it has to be done in a natural way.
So Carlos,
helping people, and that's
Carlos, you got 18 seconds left to tell them who you are and what you do.
Okay. Right now I'm with ARW, and we offering home warranty, and we have a special deal for all RE/MAX Select customers, whether it's the buyer or the seller. Next week with Robert, we're going to be in the Pine Brook office, and also the Morristown office. And I'm going to put my information over here. And anybody wants to know more about it, I'll be more than happy to stop at your office. I have the materials, I have the training, and I have everything you need. So whether it's at the time of the sale or the time of the purchase, or throughout the process, we have a unique product that's going to help your customers to avoid any unnecessary expenses or headaches. The air conditioner went off, or this is not working. What are going to do now? Well, AirW is there and it's available to all your customers. And in a minute, I'm going to put my information over here. And again, just let me know. I'm happy to be at your office.
Carlos, put your info in. You know, I'm inspired by your enthusiasm. I got to say that. And I bring it up because, I've been hearing an inordinate amount of people who are coming to me with that awkward question. And it would be so great if you could say, you know what, I'm glad you bought that warranty. Or, you don't want to put it in their face, but you want to make sure that you gave them that opportunity, right? So
No.
anyway,
Yes.
one of the I'm gonna just leave it. There's a book called, I think it's The Go Giver, and one of the and this person, Julie Vanderblue, I met her through speaking when I was active before COVID, speaking to groups, and she has a team in Connecticut, does like $200 million in business. I'm humbled that she calls me for advice. And what she makes every team member do is read this book, The Go Giver, before she bring them on the team, because that's how important protecting her culture is. Okay. And if you think about it, that ties right into what we have here. Unfortunately, I've never read the book. I'm going to be intellectually honest with you, but I think I embrace like the mindset of contribution, and she's doing way more than, quite frankly, anybody in our company is doing. And she's also humble enough to know that, hey, I'm a sponge to try to get more information. And I thank you all for showing up here. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning. I appreciate your investment in doing this. And if you just think, how can I help people? The more people you help get what they want, you'll never have to worry about anything that you want.
Hey, Rob, can we take 30 seconds just to hear from one or two of the lenders?
Excuse me, do you know what the OMIO is?
Mary Montez, can you mute yourself?
Over here, 32.
Wait.
33.
Thank you. All right,
Lot of
awesome.
people talking. Want to mute the lines, Rob?
I don't have the controls. Fred has it. So, and he's not here today. So go ahead, Robert.
No, I just wanted to see if we could spend 30 seconds, hearing from one or two of the lenders as to what's going on in the lending markets.
So I'll nominate Bruce.
So I have to know what's going on in the lending market. I can tell you what's going on in the lending market. I'm not certain I can guess on interest rates. You know what? Candidly speaking, I think what's going on in the lending market is just some volatility. Until inflation gets under control, there's going to be continued volatility with mortgage rates. When inflation does get under control, rates will come down. That's just how it works every day since our country's history in terms of how they handle monetary policy. So Fed hiking rates would help more. It will help mortgages. It's going to hurt in some other areas of the economics, but it's going to help mortgage rates. And we're in the same boat you guys are. Jimmy spoke to it, and it's for us, it's about prospecting. And and one thing that kind of everybody was talking about, I'll just add to is, if you're uncomfortable with the language and what to say when you're prospecting or whatever, it's the biggest word that I've always found is just be authentic. If you're just pure, some people call it honesty, some people call it whatever, just be authentic. You're a real estate professional. You're in a neighborhood trying to meet folks that you might be able to bring some value to, and whatever that language looks like, you could get mentors that have had success with prospecting, what have you, and building rapport. But it's as simple as that. I mean, you just have to be authentic. And to me, the beginning part of the meeting was a little, Christ, I hope everybody on this call is a good person and wants to do for others. I just think that should be a standard, to be quite honest. But if you're authentic, that'll come out. So we're trying to bring more value to the realtors. We're in a market where we support, just like the other lenders on this call, we support what you guys do all the time. And it's one of those markets where we need a little extra help. And if you have the opportunity to say to somebody, hey, talk to our guy or gal, get a second opinion, and there's no obligation, and that little bit of a difference from a real estate professional might yield to 50 more opportunities for us. So that's huge. So all of us, all your lenders that you work with. So that's
Bruce, I want this community to have this narrative, which is, what, if we're in a new world order where interest rates continue to rise for years or decades, right? Won't you be glad you purchased today? right? At
Well,
the
that's a good one.
6.25 rate, right? And now if rates go down, what are you going to do? You're going to refinance. And if rates drop significantly, do you think the real estate market's going to be back to the multiple bidders? You won't be able to find a house. So now is the opportunity to take advantage of this pause in the market. And if for some reason interest rates, you know, the world is now a 8% inflation world for the foreseeable future, you'll be glad you did it now. So it's like heads you win, tails you win, right? I mean, you have a short-term pain of a little bit of a higher rate. Rates go down, you refinance. Rates go up, you take advantage of the rates that are there today.
Now's a great giving away the secrets of my whole career, Rob. Yeah, you're right.
Now's a great opportunity. Look, a lot of the calls we've seen lately are people who are renting still, right? Is it worth it to rent? Is it worth it to buy? People who are getting out of their, say if it's a 1-year lease and now their landlord is about to jack up their rent $500, $700. I mean, their costs are up, right? So, I mean, is it a good time to buy? Yeah, look, honestly, rates are rates, right? Rates are, and Bruce could echo this too. Like, I mean, rates, we haven't seen rates like this in 5 years. You know, people are used to what we've seen for the last 2-3 years, half of where we were. But pre-COVID, where were we? We were in the what, mid-4s, right? So those weren't bad. Today's not horrible. It's just culture shock.
Hey,
Well, the
wait for
media,
Gary. How are you?
scares everybody, you know,
Oh,
the
you're
media,
meeting Gary?
Yeah.
that's scares a lot of people.
Jose, can you mute yourself?
Just busy.
All right.
Yesterday was crazy.
Jose,
so many people here.
Jose.
We're here.
Oh yeah, we ended up coming to watch Bridget's game.
Yeah.
And then
Jose.
stayed, and then Gary had a game, and
Jose.
Got any tips for us?
Sorry, hold on.
He's building rapport. Let him
Yeah.
go. Let him go.
Okay, good. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is, you know, food prices are up. Who stopped eating? Right? No, but who is there anyone that stopped eating? If your refrigerator fails, needs to be replaced, who's not going to buy a new refrigerator at higher prices? Right? If your car engine blows, are you going to not buy a car for years? The vast majority of us are still going to move forward. Why is housing any different? And housing does give you the advantage of, you know, flip the coin, right? Heads you win, tails you win, right? Rates go down. You bought a house now when there was an opportunity to see 3 houses and not compete with 27 offers. And if the rates go down in the future, Maggie, what are you going to do? Refinance, right? So I leave you with that. You know, I think we had some great dialogue here. Go out there and give, you know, go serve people, and you know, you'll be very pleased with the outcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.